We are live. We are live right here on MLK Day. Yes, it is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I hope that y'all are having a good time. I hope you have a day off. Well, even if you have a day off, let's keep your brains on because I'm Dr. Frita. This is Dr. Frita Live, where we talk about the latest trending medical headlines and celebrity health news. And you know I have a special MLK edition for you today. We'll open up talking about Oprah Winfrey. Yes, because Oprah Winfrey talks about food noise and she's breaking the silence about quieting food noise. So we'll get into the science behind how GLP-1s work with obesity. And then we'll talk about sugary drinks and keeping with things that can cause obesity. Are sugary drinks the new tobacco? They might be, because in some places they are putting taxes, yes, health taxes on sugary drinks to try to keep people from having this unhealthy food source. Is that reasonable, or are we taking away people's choice? Let's talk about it. And then let's get into my favorite game, myth versus fact. And this is, yes, an MLK edition where we'll talk about some pioneers in Black history, which is American history, when it comes to medicine. We'll do myth versus fact, and we'll see how all of y'all med heads, how up to date you are on the powerful influence that Black people in this country have had on healthcare. And then we'll get back into some more trending topics where I give you a fresh take you simply can't get anywhere else. We'll talk about the Real Housewives of Potomac star and the current season 4 Trader star, Candiace Dillard Bassett, because guess what? She had a postpartum blood clot and she almost died. She's not the only one. So I'll talk to you about the warning signs and what you need to know and what you need to share with loved ones when it comes to postpartum blood clots and other things that can affect maternal mortality. Then we'll talk about Trump. He's the president. We got to talk about him when it comes to health and the health savings plan that's being proposed. Is this a great idea, or is it just causing more confusion? And then we will close out with another pioneer, an unsung hero, a nurse who actually healed a nation by her own personal defiance on a bus during civil rights. Do you know who I'm talking about? You will. Well, we are live. I'm Dr. Frita. I'm going to ask you questions. You can ask me questions, and I'm going to ask you questions. We'll ask questions together. We see each other. And I got something special for you on today's show. So go ahead, please give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a follow. Let's get started. This is Dr. Frita Live. Hello, hello. I'm Dr. Frita. Welcome to Dr. Frita Live, where we talk about the latest medical headlines and celebrity health news. Let's go ahead and get started. But you know I'm not doing it alone. To my co-host and my office manager, Shador, please come to the stage. How you doing?
Good, Dr. Frita. How are you?
I'm actually feeling really, really, really good. And I don't know why, but hey, let's just roll with it. Well, Shador, have you had a good weekend?
Yes, I've had a great weekend. No complaints over here. Nice, relaxing. How was yours?
Relaxing, probably a little too relaxing. But the weather's been a bit chilly. You know, I'm from Florida, so I have to complain about that. But just having a good time. The kids had good basketball weekends. Both of them started for their high school basketball teams and had a pretty good showing. And so that was some excitement on Friday night. But other than that, yeah, I've been kind of relaxing and chilling. So that's good stuff. Good stuff. Hey, to all my med heads, everyone, welcome, welcome, welcome. Who was the first one in the chat, Shador?
Well, Dr. Free, the first one's in the chat today. Actually have some new members joining.
Yay, thank y'all for joining the membership. We have a good time.
So I have 3. Shout out Miss Veronica.
Welcome, Miss Veronica.
Lou, the legend.
Welcome, Lou. Thank you.
And Marilyn.
Hello, Marilyn. Welcome, welcome, and thank you for being members. I appreciate you. And look, we got something good for you all today. In your community tab, plus you would have received a notification. When I ask questions, and y'all know I like to ask questions throughout, I want you all to tap the link where you can actually come up. You don't have to show your face. You can turn your camera off, but I want to hear what your answers are to my questions. And so we can go back and forth. And so we'll release it first to the members, and then at a later point, we'll release to everyone else, all of whom we appreciate. We're trying a little something different today. So thank y'all very much, and welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, please go ahead and give us a like, because I'm telling you, as always, we've got some evidence-based medical information. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at Dr.Frita. Give us a subscribe, because right here on the Dr. Frita channel, we have over 950,000 subscribers, and we are steadily marching to 1 million subscribers, thanks to all of you. So if you haven't subscribed, please do, because I have hundreds of videos right here where we give you evidence-based medical information. And so if you're going to see a doctor, or if you have a new diagnosis, or if you have questions about kidney disease, high blood pressure, prostate cancer, lung cancer, cervical cancer, if you have questions about depression, anxiety, exercise, how to lower blood pressure naturally, just about any topic, by now I've pretty much covered it, literally hundreds of videos. And I give you the content in a way that's easy to understand. And so that when you go in to see your doctor, you don't feel intimidated, because you'll already have some good questions to ask, good buzzwords, medical terms to use. And that will help to make sure that you're not overlooked or talked over or talked down to by doctors. So please, if you haven't checked out the videos, please do. I'm very proud of them. And we've got more coming out. Okay, we had a video come out last week, and of course, I'm always giving you short form content. All right, so let's get going today with some of the latest trending medical headlines and celebrity health news. Let's start with Oprah. Y'all saw Oprah. She was on The View, and she's been doing quite a bit of a tour because she has a book coming out. But for years, we know that Oprah has struggled with her weight, and she's been living with obesity. Well, now Oprah has broken her silence, really, and she talks about food noise, okay, and how food noise is something that occurs when you're someone who is living with obesity. And she's talked about how now she has decreased her food noise and what has helped her to do it. And do understand that obesity is a chronic medical disease. It was established to be a chronic medical disease back in 2013 by the American Medical Association, and the NIH agreed, and then the CDC agreed. And so she's talking science. But let's go ahead and play that clip, and then let's talk food noise.
That all these years I thought I was overeating. I was standing there with all the food noise, what I ate, what I should eat, how many calories was that, how long is it going to take? I thought that was because of me and my fault. Yeah. Now I understand that if you carry the obesity gene, if that is what you have, that is what makes you overeat. You don't overeat and become obese. Right. Obesity causes you to overeat. Right. Obesity causes you to have all of that food noise. And what the GLP-1s have done for me, and I know a number of other people, is to quiet that noise. Yeah. And so the new freedom is having the calmness and the space to do other powerful things in your life without worrying about what you just ate and how much it was and how many calories. Boring. Isn't it? Yeah. We bored ourselves for years. Yeah, we bored ourselves for years.
Yeah. This book does a
All right, that's good. Yeah. And there actually is a science behind food noise. And so I have a question, and feel free to hit that link, members, to come on stage. And again, you don't have to show your face. You can turn your cameras off to answer this question. And you can also, of course, answer in the chat. But my question is, have you ever experienced that food noise? And, and what is it like, and what do you do to cut back on your food noise? Have you ever experienced that food noise? So now let's talk a little bit about the biology, because you do know, for those of you who are new to me, I am Dr. Frita. I'm an MD, I'm a medical doctor, and I have been quadruple board certified. So I'm a board certified nephrologist, meaning I am a board certified kidney doctor and high blood pressure doctor. I have also been board certified in internal medicine, in pediatrics, and I am a board certified obesity medicine doctor. And so I have studied the science behind obesity, and I can co-sign what Oprah is saying about this food noise. So here's what happens. When you are a person who is living with obesity, the chronic medical disease that is obesity, you get a food noise where you are constantly counting calories, planning your next meal, having guilt about every bite. And here's what happens. We have different neurobehavioral pathways. For people who tend to be on the thin side, they have an upregulated or very active neurobehavioral pathway, the POMC pathway, that tells them to eat less, store less. Okay, they're not obsessed with food all the time. They are eating to live, not living to eat. When you are a person who is living with obesity, you have a different neurobehavioral pathway that's upregulated, and your pathway tells you to eat more and to store more. Okay, and so when you are at a certain weight, okay, a set weight, and then you decide, you know what, I'm going to cut back on calories, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to be skinny, okay, I'm going to be thin, it's in, that's where it's at, you're going to be thin. If you decide that, once your body gets below that certain set point or set range, really, then your basal metabolic rate drops dramatically. Okay, your metabolism drops. Haven't you ever noticed if you ever plateau in your weight? And on top of that, your pathway that tells you to eat more and store more is upregulated, and therein lies the food noise. Therein lies the food noise. So Farshador, has anyone said anything about food noise? They want to come up to the stage, or if they just said it in the chat, anything about food noise?
No one said anything about food noise yet. Miss Cynthia is here, but if you connect your mic, please, so we can add you to the stage. For our members, it is on your community tab, on your YouTube notifications, where you can find the link for now.
Okay. So yeah, so in addition to
Nikki Knick-Knack, she commented.
Oh, hi, Knick-Knack.
She said, yes, all the time I try to get water first, take a second to breathe and calm my mind, or try to distract myself. Most times I do good, sometimes not, but I give myself grace because I am human.
Very good. And that's very important, giving yourself grace and not having the shame. And Oprah talks about that a lot. And I'll tell you, even for physicians, before all of this science started coming out really strongly in the 2000s, as physicians and in doctors in training in medical school, we were simply taught, just tell patients, use willpower, eat less, move more. And a lot of us were trained that it was really just that simple. But when you think about people who have willpower, people who have discipline, some of the most disciplined people with the most willpower are living with obesity. Look at Oprah Winfrey. You don't think she had discipline to become one of the most powerful women in the world and the top television host and owner of her own network, all those things? Of course she has discipline. I know of many physicians who are extremely disciplined, extremely trained, willpower in the sense that they're able to, go through medical school without going out to all the parties or being distracted. So discipline, willpower, that's what they have. But if they're living with obesity, they still have that food noise, okay? And this is where some of the medications come in as far as lowering that food noise. Over the years, we've had many trials, many tribulations, but now a lot of people are using the GLP-1s, right? Which were originally something that they were originally studied, the Ozempic, the Wegovy, the Mounjaro, the Zepbound, okay, the semaglutide, tirzepatide. They were originally studied for diabetes, but now we've moved on and we've learned that they are extremely efficient in helping people to lose weight. And the way they do it, one of the ways is they cut back that food noise. Okay, they bind to the GLP-1 receptors and they make it so that you're not always craving and thinking about food. They also help to decrease that set point, meaning instead of your body saying, eat more, store more, eat more, store more, get back up to that certain weight that I want you to be at, they help to decrease that enough point. And so then your body stops craving as much. And it's interesting because you'll find that most people, even if they don't have diabetes, they don't tend to drop their blood sugar on these GLP-1s. So yeah, I find that, in my patients over the years, even before we had all these advancements, they understand that the food noise is real. Yeah. And so if anyone else has a comment, again, members, you can come on up to the stage or just in the chat. If you put food in all capital letters, if you want to make a comment about the food noise, or tell me if you think that there is truth to what Oprah is saying, or do you think folks are just lazy? You don't really believe in this obesity as a disease. I want you to say that too, if that's how you feel.
Absolutely. Yeah. Dr. Frita, Dr. Adwa of health psychology.
Hey, welcome. Hi, Dr. Adwa.
Food psychology is vital to understand the food noise as well.
Absolutely. You have to understand the psychology. And so as physicians and as a psychologist and as people who are helping, if you don't understand it, and if you have that kind of cutoff where you also are putting shame or guilt upon patients who are living with obesity, there's no way that you can actually help them. Yeah.
Right. Dr. Elwood said she need to make some comments. Let me go ahead and share the link
Okay.
so people can join.
All right. So let me know when she comes to the
So
stage.
Dr. Elwood, that's the link there. If you would like to come up on stage, connect your mic at the very least so that we can add you. Otherwise, we won't be able to bring you up on stage.
Okay. And while we see if we can get her on stage, I do want to mention something else that Oprah shared, and she shared it over the years. And I remember this. I remember seeing this before. Joan Rivers, y'all know the comedian Joan Rivers, who of course is very politically incorrect. She was quite hilarious, although she did say some things that were quite racially charged, I learned, okay, in later years. But back in, 1985, she had Oprah on her show. Oprah was just young and in her 30s. And yes, Oprah had a lot of weight on her. She was living with obesity. And I remember Oprah sharing that she was really excited to go on the show. She had spent her paycheck and got her some nice shoes to be on the Tonight Show with Joan Rivers. And Joan Rivers just kept asking her why she gained so much weight. And she fat shamed her, as they call it. Okay, Joan Rivers fat shamed Oprah Winfrey and told Oprah that she could not come back on the live TV, could not come back on this Tonight Show unless she lost 15 pounds. Okay. So then the question is, was she being cruel? Did she somehow think that she was motivating Oprah Winfrey? Because Joan Rivers apparently had some weight issues herself, but it was considered to be acceptable to say something like that to someone and to sit there and instead of focusing on that great television show, which was even beating Donahue. And if y'all know who I'm talking about with Donahue, you just aged yourselves. Okay. Because I used to watch Donahue when I was a little girl. At any rate, instead of focusing on this great success of this Black woman who was breaking glass ceilings, all she did was minimize Oprah to her weight. And Oprah actually admitted that she accepted being, the butt of jokes, being mocked. She accepted all of the humiliation because Oprah felt back then that she deserved it. Okay. There was just shame that was associated. And even now, some will say, I've heard Oprah say it, and I agree. It feels like obesity is the last form of what society deems as an acceptable discrimination. Folks control you and talk about your weight and say, oh, you need to lose weight. Oh, put on some weight. And then they can go and cover it up by saying, oh, I just want you to be healthy, as if they really care. But really, it's acceptable, it seems, in a lot of people's eyes to shame people for living with obesity. That's why I'm excited about this new movement and people understanding, just like we've understood officially since 2013, that obesity is a chronic medical disease. And for those of you who are interested in starting your weight loss journey, please go ahead, click the link in the description and schedule a telehealth visit with me. Again, I am a board certified obesity medicine doctor. And I'll say this, a lot of people who come and see me, the first thing they say is, I don't want to be on these medicines, for a lifetime. I'll just get on them to help jumpstart me. And there's still a lot of guilt and a lot of shame. They feel like it's a shortcut, if they take these GLP-1 meds like the Ozempic, like the Mounjaro. But here's the truth of the matter. Obesity is a chronic medical disease. And so with all chronic medical conditions, yeah, you would love not to take medicines, but in some cases, lifetime medications are necessary. Look at high blood pressure. That's a chronic medical disease. You don't feel shame if you have to take a blood pressure pill for life. Diabetes is a chronic medical disease. You don't feel shame if you have to take diabetes medicines for life. So the first thing I want people to do is to get rid of the shame. But yeah, make sure that you click the link, schedule a telehealth appointment with me if you want a one-on-one conversation, and make sure you check out the short form content I've done on Oprah Winfrey, Not My Fault, the truth about obesity and GLP-1s. All right. Anyone else, Shador?
Yes. I have a few questions asked by our members. Our members are definitely showing up today. While Dr. Elwood, if you can try to connect your mic so we can add you to the stage. She's here, but if you can try to connect your mic.
Oh, the mic.
We can add you to the stage. So while she's working on that, I do have a few questions from our members, our heads. This is from Donna Michi.
Hi, Donna Michi.
She says, well, this is quite interesting. Has the obesity gene been found?
That is, just a second. All right. Sorry, y'all. Okay. So back to, look, I'm trying to get my mic. Dr. Otto's trying to get her mic. A mess. But I do want to talk about the shame. So I mentioned the medications, and Donna Michi. What was Donna Michi's comment?
Yes. Has the obesity gene been found?
So that's something that is being worked on. We have different genes that we think are associated. One thing that is very much we very much understand is the pathways I was mentioning. Like there's something called a POMC pathway that when you take the GLP-1 medications, they upregulate the POMC pathway, and that causes you to eat less, store less. Your brain tells your body to eat less, store less. For people who are naturally thin, their pathway is already regulated. I'm sure you know people who just eat a little bit, and when they're full, they stop eating, and you move on. You be like, "What we gonna eat for dinner?" Or what? And they're like, "Oh, I'm not that hungry, but okay, I could eat." You have people who are like that who already have the eat less, store less upregulated. But yeah, people who are living with obesity have that, and so we know that there are different pathways that are upregulated and downregulated that have to do with satiety when you get full. But as far as just one gene we can knock out, we're not all the way there as of yet.
All right, thank you. Then I remember Miss Pauline.
Hi, Miss Pauline.
What steps to take to find out if you were born with the obesity gene? This is the first time I've heard about food noise.
Okay, so this right now, it's more of a history that's taken by your physician. And one, if you're living with obesity, okay, if you have a BMI that's greater than or equals to 30, and there are other ways to determine if you're living with obesity. Also, if what I'm describing as that food noise, where you're constantly thinking about it, you constantly have that guilt, and you're just hungry, even when society says you shouldn't be. Also, if you notice you're someone who, when you do have success in losing weight, then your metabolism seems to slow down. Even if you're eating the same things or cutting back on the same calories, the metabolism just isn't budging. And then if you notice that when you lose a lot of weight, if the obsession or the desire or the thoughts of food, if that goes up more and more, then it's very possible that you have it. So we're not doing any gene therapy, nothing that's FDA approved. We're going and giving you something to just knock out genes. Right now, what we have, the most effective thing we have right now are the GLP-1 medications, like the Ozempic, like the Mounjaro, Zepbound, Wegovy, those ones. And what they do is they cut back on food noise. So it's not a matter right now of going and getting a genetics test for the gene. It's a matter of, one, are you living with obesity, okay, by BMI? And two, does that seem to describe you, the food noise? And when you talk to your doctor, you can talk to your primary care doctor or certainly see an obesity medicine doctor, and they can decide what's going to be the best. And in everything that we do, lifestyle, diet, exercise, all of that, water drinking, 100%, that's going to be a top part of the management plan. But in some patients, taking medications like the GLP-1 meds can help as well.
Absolutely. And then Dr. Frita joyously hopeful, our member as well. Hello.
Joyously hopeful.
She says, I've been obese ever since birth. No matter what I change in my eating habits or surgery, I can't get my weight under control.
And that is interesting. For some people, the GLP-1 meds don't work. For some people, they just don't. And that's because we now know that there are different forms of obesity. There's not just one. We're still doing the work, still doing the science. And what you just said about pretty much being, living with obesity since birth. Again, it's easy if you're someone who is able to maintain a healthy weight, or if you're thin, or if you've never had a weight problem, or when you've decided, hey, I'm gonna lose 10 pounds, 12 pounds, if you can do it with no problem. It's easy to kind of judge or not really understand that part of living with obesity. And I'll be honest, I used to not understand, because when I was in college, I ate what I wanted, when I wanted. I stayed down to Guthrie's, McDonald's, quarter pounder with cheese meals more than once a day. And I didn't gain weight. Yeah, I was very active, but I'll be honest, I did think that people who were living with obesity had a lot of excessive body fat, that maybe they, if it were possible, maybe they ate more than I did, or maybe they moved less than I did. I never thought about the possibility really of genetics. But if you just think about this, those of you who've seen those shows like My 600-Pound Life, or, you've watched the 1,000-Pound Sisters, things of that nature. Answer this question. If you are not someone who's 600 pounds, 500 pounds, do you think that even if you sat down with no physical activity for 5 months, and if you just had a smorgasbord of all the food you wanted to eat, you could eat, do you really think that you could get up to 600 pounds if you're someone who, say you're someone who's pretty thin right now, even if you tried to? For most of us, we couldn't, okay? For most of us, we could eat all day long, as much as our body would let us eat, without getting sick, and we could be completely sedentary. maybe we could get to 250, maybe we could get to 300, heck, maybe even 400. But for most of us, we just don't even have the ability to get to 600 pounds, much less 700, 800. And yes, you can look at families that are living with obesity and just be like, okay, yes, their lifestyle, they're eating a lot of ultra processed food, they're not moving. And of course, that could be true, and that definitely could contribute to it. But do they also have a genetic predisposition? And a lot of times we're finding the answer is yes. And so I just want y'all to keep that in mind and keep your minds open as we continue to grow in this science. This is not something telling people to take no accountability at all for their actions. It's not saying, oh yeah, go sit down in the corner. You can't help it. You're living with obesity. You're just going to be big forever. Everybody deal with it. No, because we know that if you're living with obesity, you're also at a higher risk for heart disease, high cholesterol, kidney failure, certain types of cancers. And so we're not saying, oh, well, not your fault, just don't do anything. We're saying, no, is not your fault. However, let's take action. Exercise, decreasing what we're eating, drinking water. And now we have medications to help you when indicated. Yeah. All right.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Frita.
Thank y'all for your for your participation. And again, join me if you want to start talking about your weight loss journey. Just click and visit and schedule a telehealth visit, and also have open conversations with your doctors, with your primary care physicians, okay, your endocrinologist about this. But yeah, so that's Oprah saying a word on food noise. All right. Speaking of food noise or food product noises, now, oh my gosh, folks are starting to put taxes on sugary drinks. So does that mean that sugary drinks are the new tobacco? Remember, well, you probably don't remember. Well, heck, I guess I don't really remember this either. But we know that there was a time where we didn't really understand fully. The science didn't really tell us that tobacco puts you at a high risk for cancer, for emphysema, COPD, for heart disease. And now we know all the things that tobacco can do. And they started taxing it, right? And trying to make it where less people purchase cigarettes. And so now some places are actually putting a tax on sugary drinks to try to keep people from having the sugary drinks. And so I want to ask you this question, and I don't want you to Google it, okay? I want y'all just to put it in the chat and put soda in capital letters. How much sugar do you think is in the average soda or pop, for those of y'all who are from the Midwest? Child, how much is in the average can of pop or the can of soda, and how much sugar do you think is in the average energy drink? And there's a range. I'm just curious to see what y'all say. But put soda in capital letters, or come on to the stage for my members who have the link. You can come to the stage and answer. So I want you to put that. And I will say that these sugary drinks actually do increase your risk. One, they can increase your risk for the largest health condition in kids, which is dental caries. Yes, cavities. That's the biggest health issue that kids have just in general. So of course, having the sugary drinks can increase cavities in your kids, but also it can increase your risk for diabetes, increase your risk for being up to an unhealthy weight. It's inflammatory, and so it can increase your risk for inflammatory diseases and conditions. So we know that sugary drinks, that sodas, that pop, and these energy drinks with sugar, we know that they're not good for us. But did anyone say how much sugar do you think is in the average can of soda or energy drink? How much sugar? Anyone?
Yes, we have some people out here.
Who?
I remember Miss Bewell.
Hi, Miss Bewell.
60%.
Okay, like 60% of your daily. All right. And then what about if anybody knows sugar in grams or teaspoons?
Jason.
Hi, Jason.
That's going crazy. Jason, hello. Jason said 20 to 40 grams.
Not bad. Okay.
Purple Onion.
Hey, Purple Onion, welcome back.
Purple Onion says 45.
That's good. Okay. 45 grams in a can of soda. Okay.
Blue Crystals, 1 cup of sugar. I guess that daily.
Okay. So let's see. How do we translate a cup into teaspoons of sugar? Okay.
It's rice. I'll say 2 cups, about 2 cups of sugar.
Okay. And getting into energy drinks, sometimes the energy drinks can have even more than the sodas will have.
All right. Sheree says 12 to 16 teaspoons.
You're onto it. Yep. Yeah.
Marilyn says
hi, Marilyn.
17 teaspoons.
They can. Yep. Especially the energy drinks.
Member Joyce Lee.
Thank you for being a member.
70 grams.
Okay. Now look, I haven't seen it that high. I have seen up to 50 grams in energy drinks though. Okay. Not to say that it's not that high, but this gives you an idea. It's extreme. It's extreme, all the sugar. Yeah, look, they're on that. Why do y'all know so much? Y'all must be sitting there drinking sodas and pop. Don't tell on yourself.
You have told people to read the labels, Dr. Frita.
True. Label watchers. One time. Y'all make sure y'all give us a like. Okay. Give us a like, give us a follow, give us a subscribe. Real good. So yeah. So basically, when it comes to the sugary drinks, we're talking like the sodas, the pop. One can have anywhere from 39 to 46 grams of sugar, which is like 10 to 12 teaspoons of sugar. And so a lot of y'all were dead on with that. And then again, for the energy drinks, it can be as high as 50 grams of sugar. So that's a lot of sugar. We know that it's not good for you. Here's the question. Putting a tax, is that the right thing to do? Let's play the clip, Shador, talking about these high sugary drinks and the tax and kind of the intention. And while this clip is about to play, I want you all to comment. And again, you could put tax, put TAX, put tax. Would increasing the cost of soda encourage you to purchase it less? And I also want you to answer this question. Do you think this creates a socioeconomic problem? In other words, is this something that's just punishing poor people and keeping them from getting a drink? Put tax and answer those questions.
All right. Now play this clip, Dr. Frita and Dr. Atwell. She's finally able to join us, so we'll have her.
Cool.
Experts say drinking a lot of sweetened beverages can lead to obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. This week, the federal government reversed decades of policy and allowed states to ban the use of food stamps to buy soda and other sweetened drinks. In addition, a handful of cities have put taxes on them over the strong objections of the beverage industry. To find out more, we went to opposite coasts. At a corner shop in Philadelphia, steps from the Liberty Bell, a 20-ounce bottle of Coca-Cola cost $3.09. But just a few miles south, beyond the city limits, a PBS News producer found a price of $2.79, 30 cents cheaper. Why the difference? Since 2017, Philadelphia has taxed sugar-sweetened drinks at a rate of 1.5 cents an ounce. The city council imposed the levy as a public health measure.
I did not think a sweetened beverage tax was going to actually impact health.
Why not?
Well, it's just very, very difficult to influence weight. Our bodies are biologically designed to actually help us keep weight on once we gain it.
Chris.
You heard what she said. She didn't even hear what we said in our first segment. Our bodies are biologically designed to help us keep weight on once we put it on. I'm telling y'all, the science is out there now. But yeah, so they've imposed the tax. And what she goes on to say is after that tax, they noticed that there was a 35% decrease in the people who bought the sugary beverages, at least within the location in Pennsylvania where the tax was. Now, were they going down the street? Were they driving a half an hour? Were they ordering online? We don't know. So did anyone put tax or anything in the comments? And then we'll hear what Dr. Ottawa has to say about our previous segment.
Yes. Sheree.
Hi, Sheree.
Says, I would still buy it, but what is the tax used for? Silly idea.
Yeah, they say that it's going to go toward health programs and things of that nature. As you know, it's often difficult to really see where earmarked money goes in the government. And then if you get into the nitty gritty, you sometimes think, okay, well, if the government really cares that much about their health while they are, increasing the cost of Dr. Pepper, perhaps they should give more of us access to health care, or perhaps, increase subsidies, which now I know we do have them extended again after they took them away. It just does make you kind of look side-eyed. I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Joyously hopeful.
No,
it's not going to stop anyone from purchasing soda. We like what we like. I stopped drinking my diet soda a couple of years ago.
Very good. And congratulations. Yeah, congratulations. But yeah, that's true. And it wouldn't change me. And I'm trying to think, if I really were in a position where if money were even tighter for me, and if I really had very, very low income, would it change? I just don't know that it would. But that's interesting, the data that they have from Pennsylvania. Anyone else?
Donna Michi, she says, if that money is going to programs that help those below the poverty line, then I might agree.
Yeah. So again, it's like really trying to earmark it and see where it's really going. On the same token, it just seems like, at least with the larger government, the federal government, there are so many things that are contradictory. For example, you may have seen the new food pyramid that's upside down that has red meat, butter, beef tallow, saturated fats more on the top of the food chain now, and they're above even some fruits and vegetables. And it makes you wonder, why do you have all these inflammatory foods and unsaturated fats up at the top? And they're even trying to change the language behind alcohol. We know from science now that the risks of alcohol, even in what used to be called moderate amounts, the risks of alcohol outweigh the benefits by far. And so now we no longer recommend a safe amount or recommend an amount of alcohol that's heart healthy. Now they're trying to change that. And you probably also saw, I'm gonna do a short form content on this one, milk. They're making sure they put whole milk back in schools. And, we know that milk has more calories, it has more fat. And of course, with the whole milk, there's dairy, which is a whole nother issue. And I just can't help but believe that because our first lady, Michelle Obama, was really instrumental in getting the whole milk out of school and what we believe to be the healthier skim milks in school, it just feels like this administration is trying to reverse or undo everything that was done by anything associated with Obama, the Black president, Black first lady, just to say it like it is. And so on that hand, things are seeming quite unhealthy. And until everyone raised heck, they were trying to stop the subsidies, the current administration, to stop the subsidies that were associated with Obamacare. But then maybe they saw me on our live, and maybe they had to be reminded that 3/4 of the people who were enrolled in Obamacare were actually from states that Trump won in 2024. So maybe that has something to do. Basically, it feels like a lot of contradictions. On one hand, the federal government is doing so many things to undermine the health, including not having high access for health. But then when they say that they're, taxing, sugary beverages, if indeed that money is going to health programs, great. I'll sit back, I'll look, I'll wait. But if it's just another way to be punitive to people with low income, because we also see now that they've actually approved for, if you are on SNAP, if you're on food stamps, then there's certain sugary beverages and unhealthy things that you will not be able to purchase with your SNAP benefits, with your food stamps. And some might say, yeah, good, that'll make people with low income healthier. But what if you are a healthy person, but once a month you want to get your kid an Oreo, and you're on low income, and now you can't do it just because you're poor? Is it really policing people too much? Is it just being punitive to those who are already suffering socioeconomically? It's really a larger discussion to be had. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Is Dr. Adwa hanging out?
Yes, I'm gonna bring her.
Yay! How are you doing, friend? Uh-oh. Are you unmuted?
Yeah, she's unmuted. Dr. Adwa, can you hear us? You're on stage, madam.
Okay, she might have had to step away. So let's put her down.
Hello. Can you?
Hi. How are you?
I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Wonderful. It's such a pleasure to be here with you. I miss you, Dr. Frita.
Oh, we used to be on Clubhouse. Yes. It's good.
I'm doing well. It's such a pleasure to be here.
I'm happy to have you.
I think we have a bit of a lag.
Okay. But we hear you. So let me know your thoughts either on what we talked about earlier with GLP-1s, sugary drinks. Just go ahead.
No, thank you so much. For some reason, I'm hearing myself after the fact. So
okay, so we can hear you.
We hear you.
It's not echo on this end, so speak freely.
Okay, we hear you. Perfect. So the first thing,
Uh-oh, I don't hear you now. Do you hear her?
She's at a lag, so she's probably catching up.
Okay, I'm hearing something back. Okay, so the first thing I'll say right quickly is I love the fact that you're having this topic, Dr.
Mute your other devices, Dr. Adwa. We can't hear you. We just lost you. If you can mute your other devices, if you're hearing the echo, maybe that'll help.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I love the fact.
Oh, it keeps cutting out, and I really want to hear what she has to say. She's super
Mhm.
bright. All right.
Okay, she went on mute momentarily. Hope she'll come back.
Okay.
Um,
Let's do this. We'll go ahead. We'll put you off the stage and just put a comment in the chat when you're ready to come back. Okay.
all right,
Yeah.
while we're waiting on that, Dr. Frita, couple of comments from our member viewers here. Theopolis.
Hey, Theophilus.
Theopolis says some people who love soda don't care where the tax goes.
That's true. And don't you notice, and tell the truth, you probably be judging folks who, if you know a little bit about them, or you maybe know they have trouble with their rent, trouble with bills, but they make it to all the concerts, they have all the latest fashions. In other words, people figure out a way a lot of times to buy what they're going to buy. And so I do kind of question if it's really going to stop people. Yeah, they get what they want. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then Kim.
Hi, Kim.
Kim says, why not just make the energy drinks more healthy? How much impact does sugar addiction play in taxing these drinks? It could be very profitable for the manufacturers.
Babe, you said a word. You come to the front of the class. Yes. A lot of these drinks, these ultra processed foods have certain chemicals in them that drive the brain to want them. So just by the whole science of addiction. And after you finish this live, go to the YouTube search bar and look up Dr. Frita, The Science Behind Addiction. But just quickly, we know it has to do with dopamine and reward pathways. And a lot of these ultra processed foods cause you to release a lot of dopamine in these energy drinks and these sugary drinks. And you get a certain high. Yeah, let's get high, a sugar high. But after you have so many drinks, then it's harder to get that high. And so you're chasing the high. So sugar addiction, I'm quite sure, plays a role. That's a good point. Dr. Ottawa, what we have? Oh, shoot. Are you on mute? We don't hear you now.
No, she's on mute. We're going to see if she says a lag.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
Dr. Ottawa.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Awesome. I'm here. Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Okay, you hear me now. Okay, great. Okay, great. All right, I'll try to do this. I'm so sorry. I'm not sure what's going on here. But what I wanted to say is first and foremost, I absolutely love that you're talking about this today. One of the things that the food really brings to my attention is so much of this is so psychological, right? There's a huge aspect of food choice that is should be bringing to a lot of our attention how much food is like one of the brain's comfort foods, if you really think that way, right? We have an emotional connection to food every single day, right? So one of the things that I think about as it relates to the food noise is just how every day we think about our emotions, we think about our stress levels, we think about fatigue, we think about just when we're experiencing celebrations or what have you, we have a huge relationship with food. And so food noise to me goes through stages, right? It goes through phases and it spiked whenever we have certain emotional situations that are occurring in our life. So I find it very interesting that we're talking about it today and we're actually bringing into it the neurobiological aspect, which I do think has a huge impact on the dopamine. So another thing I wanted to point out is that a lot of the highly processed foods, such as you're talking about, they actually activate the dopamine in our bodies, right? So I think that in addition to the great work that a lot of you physicians are doing, which we so appreciate your work, Dr. Frita, I think it's really important for the psychological aspect, which is one of the things that I'm really focusing on in my work, to be brought into awareness that there's a lot of emotional and psychological components as well as the neurobiological and all of those other aspects. So I think that, and I'll end with this, I think that the food noise is not just external, but it's also internal, right? And I think
Absolutely.
it's really important for us to sort of touch base and sort of bring both of those together to really truly help us so that we can kind of reduce some of the higher impacts of food noise.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought this up. And probably while you were trying to get your mic together, I don't know if you saw one of our viewers said something similar and they talked about sugar addiction. And then we went into ultra processed food, dopamine. And so we're definitely on the same page. And yes, I agree. I'm glad we're having the conversation that a lot of us as scientists, doctors, healthcare providers, psychologists, we've been having the conversation. But with someone like Oprah with her huge platform, now it's bringing it really to the huge forefront. And that's going to help more people. And so for everyone who's watching, listening, you'll see how you can follow Dr. Adewale on her different platforms to hear about the work that she's doing. And it's good to talk to you again. All right. So now, Shador, let's see. Y'all make sure you give us a like. And for anyone else who wants to come up on the stage, you know, we're trying something new on this MLK Day. But if you want to come up and talk, and you can, and if you just have a question, if you just have a raw question, especially members, you have the access to the link first, then you can come up and you can just ask your question too, or make your comment.
Yep.
Okay.
When you're coming up, please remember to give access to your mic and also maybe a better connection on your laptop or desktop may be better, and mute other devices so there aren't any echoes or problems with your so you can hear us well and we can hear you as well. All right, Dr. Frita.
All right. Now let's get into my favorite game. We have to do our game, Shador. Myth versus fact. Now, y'all know it is MLK Day, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. There's been a lot of talk about, you know, people not wanting it to be a holiday. I thought we were past that. We know that Trump, instead of, there was a time where you were able to get into different national parks and museums for free on MLK Day as well as on Juneteenth. Well, the current administration has ended that. So sorry, y'all can't get into the parks for free today, but you can get into the parks for free on Trump's birthday if you're interested. At any rate, it's still MLK Day around here, good people. So let's do a special myth versus fact in honor of MLK and some of the strides and contributions that Black people have given to American history, because of course, Black history is American history. All right, so y'all know, everybody get your pens, get your pencils out. It's time for participation. Shador, what is myth versus fact statement numero uno?
Number one, Dr. Daniel Hale Williams, who performed one of the first heart surgeries, used X-ray technology to guide the operation.
Put an M1 if that's a myth, an F1 if that's a fact. Did he use X-rays to guide that first successful open heart surgery? All right, myth versus fact statement number two.
The first African-American woman to become a physician in the United States practiced in the 20th century.
20th century. So was it in the 1900s that she practiced? Put in M2 if that's a myth, that we didn't have our first one till the 20th century. Put in F2 if that's a fact. And let's do one more for good measure. Myth versus fact statement number three, please, Shador.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. never talked about health inequality.
Okay. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. never talked about health inequality. Put in M3 if that's a myth, at F3 if that's a fact, Jack. Pencils down. Let's go back to number one, myth versus fact statement number one, and see what
Dr. Daniel Hale Williams, who performed one of the first heart surgeries, used X-ray technology to guide the operation.
Yeah, and this is something, and I'll be honest, I wasn't actually taught this in school, so I'm curious to know who all just knows this offhand. Any participants?
Of course, Dr. Frita.
Of course.
Disappoint. We have Cynthia, our member.
Welcome. Thank you for being a member, Cynthia.
She says a myth.
Ooh, Cynthia. Okay.
Purple Onion agrees that it is a myth.
Ooh, you don't think he had X-rays and MRIs and CT scans in 1893? Say what?
All right. I remember Miss Rosalind. Hey.
Hey, Miss Rosalind.
She says it is a myth.
Ooh, Miss Rosalind.
Sheree agrees.
Hey, Sheree.
Jacqueline also says it is a myth, Dr. Frita.
Y'all don't think this man had MRIs and PET scans?
So we got myth for statement number 1. Even Pamela says a myth.
Hi, Pamela. You know what? Y'all are no fun at all. I didn't trip any of you up. But let's just take a moment. Let's talk about Dr. Daniel Hale Williams. You are correct. It is a myth. He didn't have any x-rays. He had to do this thing cold. So just to give you a word, in case anyone else never learned about him, or if you didn't learn about this American history in school. So Dr. Daniel Hale Williams was born in 1858. He was the 5th of 7 children. His father was a barber. His father passed away, and his mom had to move to many different places to survive with her kids. And he became a shoemaker, actually, in Wisconsin. And Dr. Daniel Hale Williams realized very quickly that he wanted to do something different, something more. And so he actually, at the age of 20, became the apprentice of a former U.S. Surgeon General in Wisconsin. He went on to go to medical school at Chicago Medical School. And afterwards, he did private practice, and he taught anatomy as well. And ultimately, he was actually appointed to the State Board of Medicine by Georgia, by the governor of Illinois, which was a huge deal. And so he was appointed in 1889. And after that, he really lobbied very strongly to have more inclusive hospitals that would serve Black people, women. And so in 1891, he actually founded the first Black-owned hospital in the United States, okay? Providence Hospital. It also was a training place for nurses. So that was a huge deal. In 1893, a young man by the name of James Cornish had a stab wound to the chest, okay? And we know good and well people really were not surviving those types of wounds, but Dr. Daniel Hale Williams performed the surgery. He did not have x-rays. He did not have CT scans, MRIs, PET scans, okay? And so he had to just really know this anatomy and figure things out with his hands and his brain. There was also crude anesthesia. He invited some other physicians in there to witness him, including some white physicians. So there were Black physicians and white physicians. And as he, delved in and palpated and figured out the anatomy, he realized that the wound for James Cornish actually pierced the pericardial sac. So that's the sac that surrounds the heart and the coronary artery, okay, the heart artery. So literally with his hands, he's having to hold the artery because, we didn't have transfusions like that back in 1893. Well, that's more Black history. We'll talk about it. And he sewed him up. He repaired the wound. And this was an open heart surgery. He was successful. This was the first successful open heart surgery in the world, and it was performed by a Black man. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's great. He sewed him up, but James Cornish probably didn't live too much longer. You might be thinking that. And if you are, you're wrong. You're wrong as 2 left shoes, because after 51 days of being in the hospital, after this wound to the chest, James Cornish walked out of that hospital. And guess what? He lived for 20 more years. Now, how was that for a successful surgery? So yes, the first successful open heart surgery in the world was performed by a Black man in America. So what does that make that? American history. Black history is American history. All right. Yay, MLK edition. All right. What's our next myth versus fact question? Let's see. I'm on a roll, but I better look. We got more topics to get to, so I'll calm down a bit. But I get really excited about American history. That, of course, Black Americans are part of Black history. But I get frustrated because why wasn't that taught in school? Oh, we know why. But anyway, all right. What's the next myth versus fact statement, Shador?
The first African-American woman to become a physician in the United States practiced in the 20th century.
Now I'm curious about this because, yes, I tried to make this a trick question. Now, what y'all said?
All right. I think we got a mixed bag on this one, Dr. Frita. Let's see.
Okay.
Purple Onion says it is a fact.
Okay.
Member Joyce Lee Hopeful says a fact.
Okay.
Miss Aileen agrees that it is a fact.
Okay.
Member Rosalind says fact.
Okay.
So I missed it here somewhere. Let's see here. Member Cynthia says a myth.
All right, Cynthia.
And Sky's Limit says it is a myth.
All right. Sky's the limit. And Cynthia, you are actually correct. So this is a little tricky. I said 20th century. And of course, by 20th century, I mean like in the 1900s. But the first Black female in the United States, the first Black woman in the United States to become a medical doctor, actually did so even before the 20th century. She did it back in the 1800s, okay? In 1864, none other than Dr. Rebecca Lee Crumpler. Here, she was born in 1831, and her aunt was actually like a medicine woman, not officially trained, but she actually was like the neighborhood doctor. Okay. She saved lives. She did procedures, all of those things back in the 1800s. And so this is something that, Dr. Rebecca Lee decided that she wanted to do as well. And she actually moved to Massachusetts in 1852, where she served as a nurse. She had no formal training, y'all. Zero, but they still allowed her to serve as a nurse because she had all of that skill set that she credits her aunt with giving her. And clearly she was very, very, very bright. So that was in 1852. Well, in 1860, she was actually accepted into the New England Female Medical School in Massachusetts. And in 1864, she graduated, becoming the first Black woman in the United States to have an MD. Okay. She went on to practice medicine. She stayed in Massachusetts for a year, but then she went to Virginia. So now we're talking about right after the Civil War, where she took care of people, largely freed enslaved people who didn't have medical care, people who had low economic access. And she did something else. She actually wrote a book, a book of medical discourses in 1883. And she's believed to be certainly one of the first Black people to write a medical book. Not just Black woman, she might have actually been the first Black person, period, to write a medical book. That's something that's been questioned. Book of Medical Discourses. And in there, she talked about pediatric care, breastfeeding, teething. And one thing that was really remarkable is that in that book, she didn't separate care by racial lines. She kept everything universal, and it's information that helps Black people, white people, people of all cultures and creeds. And so there you have it. That is the first Black female doctor in the United States, and she became it in 1864. All right. One more MLK edition, Dr. Frita Live. Make sure you give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a follow, because whether we're talking about medical information, medical headlines, celebrity health news, or American history, we keep it evidence-based. All right, what else we got?
All right,
Number
last
3.
statement. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. never talked about health inequality.
Now, what do people say on this one?
All right. Mixed bag on this one also.
Oh, good. Now say
right.
good, y'all, not just because I like to trick y'all. I do have fun, but when it's a mixed bag, I know that I've hit a sweet spot and there's a place for learning. Because y'all know y'all are a bunch of know-it-alls, medhead. Shout out to the know-it-alls. But when I get a mixed bag, I know, okay, good. Somebody needs to learn, and probably even people who aren't watching, which they should watch. Because if y'all will please go ahead and share this link, share this live, share it in your WhatsApp, share it in your GroupMe, share it in your email, send this. Okay. So even folks in the replay crew, hey, replay crew, I see you, can enjoy it and get some of this good old evidence-based information. Okay.
Absolutely, Dr. Frita, you're 50,000 subscribers away from 1
million. Okay, please go ahead and like this and subscribe and help us get to 1 million. We have over 950,000 subscribers here on YouTube. And I'm very, very, very proud and appreciative of all of you who support us.
All right. So on this one, we have Sky's the Limit says myth.
A myth. Okay.
Gwendolyn says fact.
That is a fact that you never talked about healthcare. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Miss Aileen says a myth.
Okay. You think you did talk about it?
I remember Miss Andrea says a myth.
She thinks he talked about it. Okay, Miss Andrea. Thank you for being
Sheree agrees a myth.
Y'all better start looking at Sheree, because 9 times out of 10, okay, she be on it. Okay.
Purple Onion says a fact.
It's a fact. You never heard him talk about healthcare. Okay.
KK says a fact.
A fact that he never talked about healthcare.
Mm-hmm. Pamela says myth.
Okay.
And Miss
I love the participation. Thank y'all.
He says fact.
says
So,
the fact.
good mix here.
A good mix. Well, Shador, can we please play the clip and let's see exactly what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said on this fine
Okay.
MLK Day?
I don't consider myself a stranger. I've been with 1199 so many times in the past that I consider myself a fellow 1199er. There are times that I'm often disenchanted with some segments of the power structure of the labor movement. But in those moments of disenchantment, I began to think of unions like Local 1199. And it gives me renewed courage and vigor to carry on, and the feeling that there are some unions left that will always maintain the radiant and vibrant idealism that brought the labor movement into being. And I would suggest that if all of labor would emulate what you have been doing over the years, our nation would be closer to victory in the fight to eliminate poverty and injustice. And I say, if we will stand and work together, we will bring into being that day when justice will roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. We will bring into being that day when America will no longer be two nations, but it will be one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Okay, so he was actively involved in the strike supporting nurses, which, you know, past predicts future. We know that we have a nursing strike where at least 15,000 nurses. But one quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as it refers to healthcare, he said that of all of the forms of inequality, injustice in health is the most shocking and inhumane. So with all of the fish he had to fry, with all of the different, you know, forms of racial inequity that were going on as far as in the prison system, poverty, bus boycotts, all of that, he did actually speak on healthcare. Of all of the forms of inequality, injustice in health is the most shocking and inhumane. And so the statement that he never commented or was an activist as far as healthcare, that is a myth. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And it's amazing. Correct me if I'm wrong. He never did see his 40th birthday, did he? I believe he passed or was murdered when he was 39. But when you hear him, there's such heaviness, such weight, such wisdom, right? But he never saw 40. Yeah. All right. So that's it for our myth versus fact, the MLK edition. I hope y'all learned something during that. If y'all learned something, if you were enlightened or if you enjoyed it, y'all just give me an MLK, give me a capital MLK, and then we'll keep on moving, don't stop. Hey. All right, let's get into more trending health topics where I give you a fresh take you simply can't get anywhere else. Let's just very quickly talk about Real Housewives of Potomac's star and the season 4 Trader star. I know y'all are watching Traders. That's really hot right now. Candiace Dillard Bassett. She did an interview with Carlos King where she shared that she had a postpartum blood clot and she almost died. Okay. She almost died. We're going to play a clip of her there, but I do want to ask the question, med heads, and I want you to put just put baby. Okay. Just put capital baby in the chat. And I want you to answer the question, what changes do you think that we need to make in order to close the gap in maternal mortality? Because Black women are almost 4 times as likely to die around childbirth, okay? Our maternal mortality is 4 times higher when compared to other ethnic groups. So put baby in all capital letters and just comment, What changes do you think need to be made in order to close that gap and to decrease the maternal mortality around Black women? All right, let's play this clip.
Do this, but I've talked about it publicly. Post jet, like 3 days post jet, I experienced a blood clot in my left ovary. Yes, these kill people. They take the people to the king, not you, but the other king.
Yeah, the king.
The king. Yes, like women will like check out from what I had. Like,
how did you know you had it?
So we went to a postpartum retreat, and then we were there for like 4 days. Went home. I began to feel high fever, excruciating pain in my lower left abdomen, and I didn't know what it was, and I wasn't like dialed in really because I was focused on like, oh, the baby, and I think I was just out of it. I was having night sweats, which nobody told me about. Everybody is fired because nobody told me about the night sweats, like drenched in sweat. And my dad is a physician. He was in Ecuador on vacation. He happened to call to check in, and I was like, yeah, I'm having these pains, and it was so bad I could not function without like doubling up on prescription Tylenol and Advil just to be able to like sit up. I couldn't even change my like postpartum diaper.
Okay, that's good.
Bend over.
All right, that's good. And after you finish this live, you can check out, I put some short form content out, and I have that here on YouTube in our YouTube shorts. But basically, she had a postpartum blood clot. Okay. And yes, she could have died. That's no exaggeration. Now, what she had specifically, she said was in her left ovary, probably her left ovarian vein. And hers is probably a postpartum ovarian venous thrombosis. And people who are at high risk for that are people who are living with obesity. Clearly, she's not. Also, people over the age of 35. She is over 35. If you're taking hormones that can, or medications that can increase your risk for blood clots, we know that she did share that she did IVF and that she was taking hormones. And also, if you are sedentary, okay, just trying to recover after childbirth, people with C-sections are at higher risk. She had a vaginal delivery. People with diabetes, high blood pressure are at higher risk, and people who have twins. These are all the risk categories that put you at high risk for postpartum blood clots in general. So for hers, it was, she said, left ovary, so likely in the ovarian vein. If that clot spreads and goes into the inferior vena cava, that's the huge vein that takes off the blood, mainly from your lower body up to the heart. If that blood clot dislodges, then you can get a PE, a pulmonary embolism, and die. Okay. And then other forms of postpartum blood clots are in the legs, right? And you're at high risk when you're pregnant because for one reason, you have increased pressure in the pelvis and the brain and in the veins, okay, when you're pregnant. And so the symptoms will typically be swelling in the legs, okay, edema, especially if it's asymmetric, okay, asymmetric. If one side is bigger than the other, you might also get redness, pain. The key is not to ignore the pain. You might also get fever. Candice described having fevers. So if you're having fevers, leg swelling, pain, pelvic pain, to make sure that you don't do this whole, oh, I'm a mom now, let me just worry about my baby. No, you still need to worry about yourself because postpartum blood clots are real. Maternal mortality, it's real, and it's disproportionate in Black people. And I'm very happy that Candiace Dillard Bassett lived to see another day and many days. It sounds like she's doing well and that Jet is doing well. And I know we're going to have to keep this conversation going, especially in the replays, but I'll just take one or two if anyone made any suggestions on what they think we can do to cut back on that disparity in maternal mortality.
I remember Miss Joyously Hopeful. She says, longer hospital stays. My daughter experienced this after the birth of her last child 19 years ago. She was put in the ICU.
So instead of just rushing, trying to turn us around and get us out of the hospital, maybe when indicated, longer hospital stays and really listen to the patient. Okay. Well, I pray your daughter is doing well and that grandbaby is doing well. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely. Member Miss B Wellness says education, resources available to women.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, even highly educated women like Candiace, both her parents are doctors. She's got her undergrad degrees. She's got her master's, her MBA, all of that. And of course, she has access to the finest. The maternal mortality is high still in Black women across the board. It's higher. But education and knowing how to advocate for yourself and refusing, because I've shared before that I had an issue with my first child, and they were trying to push me out of the hospital when I had lost half of my blood volume. And so at first I was in there trying to be nice, little humble, I didn't tell them I was a doctor, and my actual doctor wasn't on call. Some of her partners were on call, but I had to get real uppity real quickly and let them know that I was educated in my risk factors in order to get care. And that's sad because it shouldn't take all my degrees to give me the simple, basic, humane health care that we all deserve. Okay.
All right. And Miss Rosalind says, need more education, stay in until 6 weeks checkup. So maybe stay in until the 6 week checkup.
Yeah. Well, now I wouldn't want anyone to stay in the hospital that long because
maybe like you hear that. I know in our community, the Black community, stay in the house. You just had that baby. You need to wait, 6 weeks, 2 months before you go out. This, and the third.
Oh, going out in the world, because and that's a good point, because you really are, believe it or not, immunocompromised around the time of having a baby. And my mama, they will talk about somebody when they have their baby out and baby still wet. We got a little young baby for out, head not covered. They don't care if it's July. They want that baby's head covered and the baby in the house. Yeah. So you must be about old school or raised by somebody old school like me. Good. All right. So y'all know we can't leave without me tussling with RFK Jr. or tussling with Trump. So let's just tussle with Trump a little bit, but maybe he's onto something. They're talking about this great healthcare savings plan. Now, remember, they've been planning to repeal and replace Obamacare. And Trump first took office in 2016. It hasn't been repealed or replaced yet. Okay, that's fine. And then they tried to cut the subsidies. And actually, when the new year turned, they did cut the subsidies. You remember I went right on the Don Lemon show and was talking about that. You can still catch that. Go to my playlist on YouTube when you finish watching this, and you can see television appearances and see all the things that I do. So they took away the subsidies, but now it looks like they've extended them. But now they're talking about a healthcare savings plan. And I want you to give me a cash emoji. Okay. I want a picture with some money or a bag of cash or some coins. And I want you to tell me, would you rather have money go into your healthcare savings account where you just kind of dealt with your own health cost, or would you rather people just give a set subsidy so you don't have to worry about it? Okay. So tell me what you think, and let's play this clip and maybe it'll give you a little more insight.
Finally, this morning, President Trump unveiled a healthcare plan for America called the Great Healthcare Plan, and a video message detailing his solutions to lower costs for all Americans and significantly improve our healthcare system. The Great Healthcare Plan will accomplish this through 4 common sense pillars. Number 1, permanently lowering prescription drug prices. Congress can get this done by codifying President Trump's historic Most Favored Nation initiatives into law to guarantee Americans the same low prices for prescription drugs that people in other countries around the world pay. Additionally, by increasing consumer choice by making more verified, safe pharmaceutical drugs available for over-the-counter purchases. Number 2, the Great Healthcare Plan will stop sending big insurance companies billions in extra taxpayer-funded subsidy payments and instead send that money directly to eligible Americans to allow them to buy the health insurance of their choice. Additionally, by funding a cost-sharing reduction program for healthcare plans and ending kickbacks from pharmacy benefit managers to large brokerage middlemen. Number 3, the Great Healthcare Plan will maximize price transparency by requiring any healthcare provider or insurer who accepts either Medicare or Medicaid to publicly and prominently post their pricing and fees to avoid surprise medical bills. This is an incredibly popular policy that has been bipartisan for many years, and President Trump is officially and firmly calling on Congress to get it done.
All right. Did anyone make any comment and put a cash money on there? And I know this is relatively new, and we'll talk about this going forward in some other lives. But I'm just curious if anyone has already has an understanding if they jumped out there.
Yes, Sheila. Hi, Sheila. Sheila says, I retired, blessed, and received my meds through the VA.
You are blessed for that, because let me tell you, it's a great difference if you have a medicine you need and your insurance won't cover it and you have to pay cash. Yeah.
Sheree says,
Hi, Sheree.
Obamacare is still the best we got. Really should be free health for every American because we are supposedly the wealthiest nation on earth.
Let me tell you something. You said a word, which is really interesting. When we talked about changing the vaccination schedule, the RFK Jr. CDC, they changed the vaccination schedule and it matches a schedule very similar to a schedule in Denmark. And a lot of people have been arguing, oh, well, in Denmark, they only require 10 vaccines. We should do the same. Denmark has universally available healthcare. Everybody gets healthcare. They have access to it. They have transportation to it. Not to mention there's 6 million people in Denmark and over 340 million people in the United States. And so, but anytime Medicare for all has been introduced or a greater access, then a lot of folks say, oh, that's socialism, that's communism. Okay, well then come up with something different. And so that we don't have people dying in the streets, literally because they don't have healthcare. So I agree. Right now, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, is the best that we have. Is it perfect? No, no one ever said it was perfect. But if folks were able to come up with something better, if they were able to repeal and replace it, they would have done it by now. And so I'm still listening to this great healthcare plan. But I know one thing, if instead of insurance companies getting the money, if people get the money, does that mean, that if they really need to pay their mortgage, if they really need to buy groceries, will they have the right to go into that health plan for the eggs that they can no longer afford or the sugary drinks they can no longer afford? So there's lots of pieces that I still want to learn about in this transparent administration. So we'll see. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
And
So-
she had a question regarding this. Who is going to hold the insurance companies accountable to pay out when needed? Who really cares about the health of us?
Well, we know, folks at the top, right, of these insurance companies are billionaires, right? Many of them are billionaires. So we know billionaires are able to get the health cuts. Billionaires are able to donate to different campaigns and to have influence, right? And so we can't help but realize that there's a lot of, political pressures, political bias to the decisions being made. And so, good question. It remains to be seen. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Frita.
All right. Y'all make sure y'all give us a like. Don't slide out of here without giving us a like, please. Y'all know we gave y'all some good evidence-based medicine on MLK Day. I have one more little question. I have a question for you. I thought there's a song that should be singing to that. Anyway, and I want you to put a bus emoji in the chat. And if you didn't learn this in school, put I did not learn this in school. A bus emoji in the chat, and I did not learn this in school. Did you know that before there was ever a Rosa Parks, 9 months before, there was a Claudette Colvin, who was a young 15-year-old girl who refused to give up her seat for a white person and who was also arrested. This was 9 months before the Rosa Parks, before what she did initiate the bus boycott. Claudette Colvin. We didn't hear about her. I wasn't taught it in school. If you weren't taught it in school, put a bus emoji and say, I was not taught this in school. Let's hear about Claudette Colvin, because this beautiful civil rights activist has now passed away at the age of 86.
Civil rights pioneer Claudette Colvin has died. At just 15 years old, Colvin was arrested for refusing to give up her seat on a segregated bus in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955. The incident occurred just 9 months before Rosa Parks gained international fame for refusing to give up her seat. The boycott that followed led to a federal lawsuit that outlawed racial segregation on Montgomery's buses, with Colvin serving as a plaintiff and star witness. She spoke in 2018 about her actions on that fateful day.
Most people ask, why didn't you get up when the bus driver asked you to get up? I tell them I could not move because history had me glued to the seat.
Colvin spent decades in relative obscurity working as a nurse's aide in New York City, but then saw a renewed focus on her role in the civil rights movement later in life. The foundation that bears her name announced her passing today.
86 years old. She actually served as a nurse's aide for over 30 years until she retired. 15 years old. Did anyone say they didn't learn it in school? You may have learned it since school, but did you learn it in school? I didn't learn that in school. My teachers didn't teach me.
Yeah, few people say they haven't learned it. Cynthia.
Hi, Miss Cynthia.
Remember, Miss Cynthia said she did not learn, was not taught. Remember, Miss Deidre, who's also waiting in the wings to come on stage, she had a comment, says, I did not learn this in school. Sheree, no. Joyously hopeful.
Look,
No.
Sheree done learned everything, so she didn't learn.
Jacqueline says yes.
You learned it in school?
Okay, good.
I just saw that on Facebook this morning.
Okay.
So you learned in school, but saw it on Facebook this
Oh,
morning.
you've learned it. Yeah, I learned it since school, but I didn't. My teachers.
Yeah.
I listen to history class now. I listen very closely. They didn't teach it.
Yeah, a
to
couple
me.
people learned it. S. Rise says I wasn't taught it in school, but learned about it through my parents at an early age.
Very good. Okay, good.
And Dana says I learned this 15 years ago. Colorism played a lot into why she wasn't the face for the civil rights movement.
I know you didn't. Hold on. Keep this comment up. You said colorism had a lot to do with it and why she wasn't the face. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's get into it real quickly. We know that Rosa Parks had a very fair complexion, very light hair, curly. She was married. Okay, no run-ins with the law. Pretty, just kind of what a seamstress and what was deemed to be an upstanding citizen. And there have been talks and theories that the reason that Rosa Parks was the face of the movement is because her skin was light and more white adjacent, and they felt like she would be more palatable to get empathy and sympathy from all communities, including the white community. Claudette Colvin was not light. She had a lot of melanin. Also, she was pregnant, the 15-year-old, and she was unmarried. And when I say that she was pregnant in 15, do understand that there's no judgment on Claudette Colvin, because 15-year-olds have parents, okay? And 15-year-olds are children, okay? So I say that with no judgment, but just supporting what you're saying. There were different things that made her not the face. But for married, thin, light, law-abiding citizen, Rosa Parks, they picked someone who they felt would be palatable. And yes, colorism, I do believe, also played an issue. What y'all be paying attention to Black history, to American history. I don't know what I'm gonna do with the med heads. It's not just medicine, y'all know. Y'all read all of it. Yeah. All right. So let's see. Shall we close out and bring someone to the stage and then we'll slide on out MLK Day? Make sure you're unmuted. Let's see.
Ms. Deidre, you're on stage if you want to unmute your mic for your comment, and then Dr. Free, we can close out. No one else has a comment to come up.
All right. Well, I certainly thank y'all. Again, make sure you give us a like, give us a follow, give us a subscribe. Remember, I am Dr. Frita. This is the Dr. Frita channel, Dr. Frita Live, and we on this YouTube channel have over 950,000 subscribers. Please help us get to 1 million by sharing this. Share this link. Ask people to follow. We give evidence-based information. Again, I have been quadruple board certified in nephrology, internal medicine, pediatrics, obesity medicine. I love to learn about a lot. I read medical journals every single day. No exaggeration. More importantly, I love to share my knowledge with you. So if you go ahead and give us a follow, a subscribe, and put your notifications on, you will not be disappointed. And if you share this information, you can enhance the lives of your loved ones so they can better advocate for their health, so they can live their healthiest, happiest lives. Make sure you click the link in the description. Get my book, Under Pressure, Guide to Controlling High Blood Pressure. Also check out my one-stop shop, drfrita.com, where you can book a telehealth concierge service with me. You can find out my favorite things, like my favorite juicer. I have a discount code for you. I have my weights that I use so I can strength train. Oh, get with it, Dr. Frita, strength train. Get those muscles up. I have my favorite weights that I use, my yoga mats, whatever, child. Go on drfrita.com, my favorite things. I hope y'all have a relaxing MLK Day. I certainly appreciate you for spending it with us, but I want it to be reflective. We always talk about evidence-based medicine. I also want you to remember, as you move on in this society, regardless of what's going on, keep your heads up and do understand that American history involves all of us. And I purposefully shared on this MLK Day these Black pioneers in medical history, because Black history is American history. I'm Dr. Frita. Thank you for making Monday your healthiest day of the week.